Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today, I have Catherine Leinecker on the show. She's going to share her experience about what to do when things go sideways in your life. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back. Good morning, Catherine. How's it going?
Good morning.
Let me tell you, I am a little tired this morning. I'm always tired when I do the show on the weekends because I don't have to work, the 9 to 5 the next day. So I just stay up late. I love watching certain shows. And I know I don't have to get up early, but I'm just going to stay up late. And before you know it,
Right.
It's 6 in the morning. I'm like, oh my goodness. So
Right.
I'm here. Yeah. So what's been going on with you? It's been a while since we connected on this platform.
I know. There was so much going on. Yeah, I was running an ambulance company. I think maybe the last time I talked to you, I'm not sure. And then I sold that. And so now I just work full-time in a skilled nursing home doing occupational therapy. So
nice. Absolutely. How do you liking that?
I love it. Yeah, I've been there about 3 years, and it's nice to be able to clock in and clock out and not work, 24 hours a day.
Yes.
So I do like that. Yeah. Being able to have some off time for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's just jump into it. Why don't you share a little bit about your story and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I'll tell you kind of a brief synopsis, which when I talked to you the last time, you've kind of been familiar with it, but I'll review it. So I kind of made a list of what my timeline is for everything that happened to me. So in 2010, I was 45 and I'd been having seizures at night and not realizing that I was having those. I just kept waking up short of breath. And then I'd, get up and go back to bed and I was fine. So I went to the doctor and they said, oh no, you're fine. I don't know what that is. So then one night my dog woke my husband up and I was having like a grand mal seizure.
Yeah.
And so went to the emergency room, by ambulance. And eventually after all the tests and everything, they determined I had a brain tumor. Yeah. And that was causing pressure, in my brain and causing the seizures. So over a period of time, they scheduled a surgery to take it out. And then after that time, they were going to determine whether it was cancer or not once they took it out. So they diagnosed it as something called an oligodendroglioma.
Okay.
And then they gave me epilepsy diagnosis because of the seizures. And so they said, yes, it was cancerous. So after they removed it, then I had some sort of a problem where I couldn't talk. Yeah. So it's called expressive aphasia. So that's where you can think it in your mind what you want to say, but it doesn't come out your mouth properly. So it was just kind of all gobbledygook. I couldn't say what time it was. I couldn't say my kids' names, So I had some speech therapy for a little while. And then over the course of a year, I was able to get my full speech back, but everything I did at my job, I needed to do 3 times and have somebody proof it. And if words weren't coming to mind, people that worked with me would say, oh, Catherine, are you trying to say this? Are you trying to say that? They would help me to get the words to come out. So over about a year, my speech became more and more fluent. But so with that one, I took oral chemotherapy for 10 months and then, everything was business as usual. Well, then a couple of years later, I had a new diagnosis. I came down with breast cancer on my right breast. So this is 2013. I was 48 by then. And it had metastasized to the lymph nodes. So immediately they did a right mastectomy. I had the 3, which is surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. So I was going through that. 2 kids, in high school. One was starting college, and the other kid was in high school. And I was running a 24-hour ambulance business with my husband and my first husband. And then he unfortunately had an affair right when I was diagnosed with the breast cancer. And then he had a girlfriend for about 2-year period. And so we were going back and forth, trying to save our marriage, but he didn't want to leave the girlfriend. So ultimately we got divorced in 2015. So at that point I had been going to a geneticist to find why I keep having cancer, and I wasn't really that old. So she did test after test after test, and they finally found I had a genetic disorder called Lynch syndrome, which has to do something with chromosomes, I think. So it predisposes a person to colon cancer, but other types of cancers too. So anyway, the bottom line is my life pretty much fell apart. We had a ranch, running a business, and we were married 25 years and trying to get my kids, off to college while I was completely, falling apart. So that's kind of a synopsis of what happened during the most, challenging time in my life.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I actually forgot a little bit about your story. So thank you for just, bringing it back out. But I will tell you, just me sitting here looking at you, you're very resilient. And, I don't know whoever watched this platform, I don't know if they believe in God or not, but he's definitely got you through. I don't know if I share with you, I do have a friend who was diagnosed with stage 3 brain cancer. And I think this was like in 2000, I'm going to say maybe 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there. And he had to, so what it's interesting because how he found out about it, his ears was but just bothering him. He was having headaches and his ears bothering him. So he went to ear specialist or whatever. And so they just so happened to check his ears and everything was going okay. And this man, Catherine, for some reason, literally he went in there to get his ear checked, but for some reason, he was like, oh, let's just do, other testing or whatever. And I think they did an MRI, whatever. And that's when they found the tumor in his brain. And he didn't even go in there for that.
Oh
and
my gosh.
and if that man would have not did that, no telling how big that tumor would have grown. So we found out about it. And of course, he had to get a biopsy. And then after biopsy, they did the actual brain surgery.
Wow.
And then after that, he had to still do chemo and radiation. But it was interesting because the whole process was he just happened to just make an appointment to go get his ears checked out,
For heaven's sakes.
and he, God blessed him to, make it through. And they removed everything except 5% of the tumor. And the doctor was telling him that, before the surgery, we're going to remove as much as we can without, so there won't be any, complications and stuff. But so far, so good. And he tells his testimony at church and different places so that people can be inspired. As a matter of fact, after his situation, and it's like he was just running into people who had cancer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a good friend of his that he had went to school with actually had brain cancer as well.
Wow.
And his friend ended up getting surgery and stuff, and it also affected him in a long-term way. And then a cancer came back,
right.
And then his friend passed away. Mm-hmm. His mom passed away from cancer. One of his co-workers passed away from cancer. People in church. So the point I'm trying to make is he's had an opportunity to share his story, to encourage people while they was going through their situation. So I think what you're doing is definitely a good thing, and it inspires people, and it does bring hope.
Right. And sometimes a neurologist will tell you that it can grow back. So they might want you to have MRI regularly. So I had one every year for the first 10 years to make sure it wasn't growing back. And it hadn't been. So now they have them every 2 years. But so that is something that a person could be worried about. And the amazing thing was, when you were talking about your friend that had surgery, I had a certain type of insurance, but I found out about a neurosurgeon from UCSF, which is not on my insurance.
Yeah.
Like, I want him.
Right.
And so somehow God worked it out where this man was able to come down to Sacramento as a specialist, because he specialized in something called awake surgery. So they wake you up in the middle of surgery so that the neuropsychologist can ask you questions. And if you answer them appropriately, then they can go in deeper and get more of the tumor out.
Wow.
So they knew how far they could go, waking you up during the surgery.
Oh my God, I would be.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. So there were a couple other neurosurgeons from my, insurance in there as well, but he was like the specialist. So they paid him a lot of money, and I didn't have to do a GoFundMe or anything.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. I've never heard of anything like, I would be, oh my God. So I wonder if you're like conscious that you're in surgery. You probably be still at a sleep state to a certain extent, I'm thinking.
I didn't feel anything, but yeah, I did know. And I interviewed with her ahead of time, so she knew what questions to ask me that I would know, be familiar with me about my life or whatever. So I do remember her, asking me the questions, and I didn't feel anything. And
wow.
So it was very, very interesting. Yeah, I was just amazed that, and he's still, I think, the head of neurosurgery at UCSF. So I just couldn't believe that. I think they paid him, at least $100,000, to come and just do that as a specialist. I couldn't believe it.
That's awesome. And then at least you got an opportunity to pick the person that you want to perform your surgery.
Right. Right.
So that's important. So yes. You went through all of this, because I want to unpack some more things, but how did that affect your mental health?
Well, I was, it's very emotional, just traumatized, not so much by the cancer. My body was falling apart physically, but that didn't bother me near as much as the breakup of my marriage,
right.
I'd loved the most and was so attached to, and had spent many, many years building a business with, having 2 children. So the most important thing for me was to put that marriage back together.
Yeah.
To the best of my ability. But it does take 2 people. So that person needs to be willing to stay in the marriage as well. And he was kind of halfway in, halfway out.
Yeah.
For about 2 years. So yeah, I was definitely falling apart. So, but through the course of time, and even up until now, I've learned different strategies that helped me to hold it together so I could carry on with my daily life. And I wanted to be strong for my kids. I didn't want to show them that I was weak and falling apart, because I wanted them to continue to finish their college, high school and college, and get into colleges, get the applications filled out, move forward, get on with your life, and not worry about their mom, falling apart.
Yeah. I often, and I'm just going to be transparent, I often wonder what goes on in the individual's mind to be able to do something like that to somebody who they have built a life with. And not just that, but it could be a friend, it could be a family member. Like, it's like, for me, I would think to myself, like, I don't deserve that. Like, what did I do? And, and it does cause you to kind of do self-reflection, like, okay, did something happen years ago? Did that not get resolved? But then once you go through, and as you get to walking through the healing process, you realize that wasn't my issue. These individuals has their own personal issues that they have to work out. I actually know somebody who recently went through a very similar situation. And, and I, for me, I'm just, trying to just be there for the person the best way I can. And I think what bothered me about the situation was seeing the deep hurt in this individual questioning herself. And, now I start to see a lack of self-esteem issues, and just all this stuff started coming up. And so I had to really kind of look at the individual, and then really be a circle of support and speak back into their lives, let them know, no, that's not your problem. You did your share, you did your part, and That's just somehow people, how some people are. The sneakiness, the lying, and the deception behind people back. Like, it's just, no, to me, nobody deserves that. Especially when the other individual, like my friend, that you are really putting your all into these relationships so it can work. But I do know that whatever we sow in this world, we do reap, and it's not that we won't bad things to happen to people, but it does come back at some way. Somehow it comes back, so I'm so glad that you're able to get through that process and stuff, because I can't even imagine just dealing with that and then dealing with other stuff, then you're trying to be strong for your kids, and but I personally know where your strength came from, for sure.
Yes.
To get you
yes.
to get you through that journey. So that's good.
Well, and that's so amazing that you were able to be a support for that person and like a listening ear to them and encourage them and build them up, because they're feeling their lowest of low,
Yes.
But all the person can do is try to be their best self, offer what they can offer. How about if I go to these classes, or let's go to dancing together? What can I do to be a better person? What can I do to fill that void where you feel it was empty? Did I work too much? Did I, not there enough, or what are you holding any, is there anything that's you're holding against me, or whatever that I can fix now? What can I do? And just try to better yourself, but then that person has to be willing to say, yes, I'm willing to work on this together. So the person that's in the situation can't force that person to do anything. It may just be they think the grass is green on the other side of the fence.
Yes.
If they've been together a long time, could be that maybe I'm bored, or they might be going through a midlife crisis themselves, where they feel like I feel like I've lost out on something. I need to see, what am I missing in my life? And they want to take that chance to jump the fence, maybe not realizing that it really wasn't all they thought it was. So it could be a number of things that the person or myself may not ever even know.
Right. Exactly. I have another friend. This is kind of off topic, but it is on topic. She actually, and I had talked to her like a while, she actually had a stroke. And I think she had a stroke like in January. And so another friend kind of told me about it. So I ended up calling her up maybe like 2 weeks ago. And, I just assumed that, oh, she's going to be all better, blah, 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 blah. And then when she picked up the phone, I immediately noticed a change in her speech.
Right.
And then she was talking and she proceeded to tell me about what happened. And, so I was asking her, like, did the doctors tell you what caused this or whatever? But she couldn't really communicate, as much as she wanted to, or the way that she wanted to. Then my heart just went out to her, and so I discerned that, we both was eager to hear from each other, but I knew it was really hard for her to continue to try to talk, because she was going, to see a speech therapist as well.
Right. So
we just started texting.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we was able to really get everything out through a text message and stuff. But I really, man, I felt really, really, really bad for her, and she's, still trying to get through it and stuff. And she had the support of her family and stuff like that. But, she did let me know. She said it's hard. Also, she's trying to learn how to walk again too, so. But let's talk about, Captain, what are some things that you done that kind of walked yourself back to health, or to the space that you wanted to be in order to get your life back on track? What were some of the things that you done or you learned, going through what you went through?
Right. Well, it's a combination of physical and emotional, our body, just the way our body's made up. So I kind of made a list of 7 things that of how I, dealt with it that worked for me. And I'll kind of just list them for you. Then we can go over them in detail,
Okay.
So one of them is crying. It's okay to cry. Another one is serving others. Yes. Another one is listening to an uplifting speaker, somebody that I might respect. Finding a community or group. Resting. Go ahead and allow your body to rest. Exercising. And another one is picking the right foods.
Yes. Let's start with crying because I think that that is kind of like the first step into the healing phase. I think when people have, and I'm just saying people in general, when we have this um, um, responsibility as parents, as brothers and sisters, or whoever, a lot of times when we go through something where things hit our life, sometimes we like you talked about, like we got to hold it together, but it's still okay to cry, if that makes sense. So talk about the crying experience for you.
Right. Well, I wasn't really a crying person, so to speak. I mean, some people cry more than others. I wasn't really, I mean, occasionally, but I wasn't
Yeah.
like that type of person who's crying all the time. But when this happened, I was just, complete mess. So I was crying all the time.
Yeah.
So when I look back on myself, and I share this with people, I was crying in the grocery store. I was crying in the car. I cried when I woke up. I cried when I went to bed. I cried when I exercised. I cried under my desk. And I was able to hide it from my kids. I didn't want them to see, that I was falling apart. I did have some close friends, that I was okay to cry in front of, but just nonstop. And I thought, when is this going to stop? This is getting ridiculous, every day, because you sleep and then you wake up and you realize this isn't a dream. This is
Right.
life happening
Yes.
to me. And you just, I didn't think it would ever stop. So 2 years went by, almost 2 years, still crying. But then one day I woke up and I wasn't crying.
Yeah.
And through
Wow.
my mind, I thought, wow, the faucet has turned off. I can't
Yes.
believe it. And but then I felt like, well, that the healing is taking place now. Because
Yeah.
I read a book on grief, that when you cry tears of grief, that they could kill a plant. Somebody told me that. Actually,
Yeah.
a lady, I went through a grief share class, and the lady that ran it, she was like a hospice nurse. She's the one that said that tears, certain tears are so toxic because your body's just releasing them, that it could kill a plant. I thought, oh, wow.
I've never known that.
So when people are crying or I'm come across them, I'm like, it's okay. Just let it out, because that's a part of the healing. And you might have to just continue to let yourself cry, because that's
Yeah.
how God created us. He just wants us to let it out. So if I come across somebody that's crying, or maybe I work in a skilled nursing, so a patient might be crying, I just put my arm around them, how you doing? Oh, just give them a little hug.
Yeah.
I mean, they're okay. It's just comforting. You can't
Yeah.
stop them, or you just be there for a
Yeah.
person.
I feel like crying for me, it actually brings some sort of relief especially in that moment. Now I know I may have around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but for some reason that moment, it's like I have to get it out. And I can't even force myself not to cry. And it just comes because of whatever is going on in my life at that time. And for me, I do find that it is a relief. It's a comfort in that moment. And then it causes me to, okay, engage in my mind about why I'm crying and, what I need to do, to allow the situation to change, what steps I need to take in order for this situation to change. And it may not happen overnight, but at least the conversation start going on within my mind at some point, So I love the fact that you listed crying, because sometimes people look at crying, which I personally don't. I'm sure you personally don't. I'm sure others. People look at crying as a sign of weakness. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. 100% disagree with that, because to me, when you put that false narrative out there, it causes people to, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, to kind of prolong the healing process. They actually may want to get it out and it's bottled up. But, no, I know in the African American community, when I grew up, when things was going on, like I grew up in poverty and stuff, we were taught that, oh, men don't cry, or, uncles and them, they would kind of hit us across the head like, go wipe your face and blow your nose. And, growing up like that, I learned that that's what they were taught. They were taught that, so they live by that, assumption, or they live by that, but I don't live like that. And it really didn't do me no good as I began to get older, because I remember something happened and I'm just, and then I was in the house by myself, Catherine, and scared to cry. Like, and so I just let it all out. And it was a relief for me. And that's how I knew for at least me that it's okay to cry when things go wrong in my life.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you don't want to prolong the healing. If you
Right.
need to cry, then your body just needs to let something out and give yourself a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, I'm remarried now, and my current husband, my new husband, I mean, we've been married almost 7 years now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That it's gone by that fast. But he's noticed, that I'm not very emotional. And maybe I wasn't emotional to begin with, but I'm like, why am I not, to the person that's closest to me? Why am I?
Yeah.
And we call it stoic. Why am I stoic?
Yeah.
That's just the way I am. I've just like straight face.
Yeah.
Nothing gets to me. I can handle anything.
Yeah.
But it was partly, I think, from being a boss for so many years. I was a boss for 20 years, managing employees. So I think a lot of that training came from that, but it's just needing to be strong and steadfast and not let myself go in that capacity, but that it is okay around, my loved one, to let him see all sides of me. So I'm trying to think about that a little bit more.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because for me, I love when those that are close to me give me feedback about myself, because I know what they're saying is authentic and organic and real. You know what I'm saying? And I've just recently I've had to sit up and listen about feedback that two people had given me that are really close to me. And in the moment, I don't agree, to be honest with you.
Right.
I don't see it, but it does causes me, when I get, alone in my prayer and stuff, it does cause me to do a lot of self-reflection. And then it causes me to think like, okay, what are they saying about myself that I don't see?
Mm-hmm.
And then a situation will come up, and then it will be the very thing that they telling me that I need to work on. And it really causes me to be like, okay, this is what, because sometimes I be like, I'm very strong-willed. So, and sometimes that's a problem, especially when you're around people who need that softer emotional side of you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything can always get up. God got you, and in which we know that's true. But sometimes it's a process. They don't need that strong encouragement. Sometimes they need the emotional side. Give them a hug, and it's gonna be all right. Let me, So I think the reason I'm saying this because I had a previous my previous job that I worked that was so toxic. Oh my, it was just beyond toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at that job for 3 years, and it really caused me, because I had to kind of like, everything was documentation, or I had to watch my back. My bosses have to give me this person at the beginning. And then it causes me to like build this hard shell,
Right.
because people was like out to get me. I didn't realize that I was bringing that stuff home.
Mm-hmm.
That same personality I was bringing home, when in fact, these are the godly people around me. I should have been able to let my guards down. And
right.
And so when they start talking to me about it, and I'm like, no, and because I'm thinking, no, I'm only like that at work. Like here I'm cool, but I was not. So I had to really listen at that, and it was a hard pill to swallow. But through prayer, I did allow change to come, and things like that. I had just to give you a little bit of backstory. I had somebody close to me who lost their job. And I wasn't as sympathetic as I should have been, and so that's when all this stuff started coming up. Like, well, no, you need to be mindful of things. And this was the feedback I was getting. Well, no, I don't understand. So it was, but it was really my fault, is what I'm saying. I took accountability for my actions and really had to get changed. So
yeah, and it's okay to be soft, but we're trained the opposite. That
right.
We can't be soft. We can't.
Exactly.
We have to be hard-headed. Nothing can get to us. We can't show sensitivity.
Right.
We can show it, but we can show it to people, but we can't be that way.
Right. Exactly.
We have to be in charge and handle everything that comes our way with no emotion whatsoever.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, I get it. Let's talk a little bit about serving. How did serving help you during your healing process?
What that is, it's just kind of getting the focus off myself so I can be, I call it the pool party swimming pool, but where I'm just whining, complaining, crying. What about me? Look what happened to
Mm-hmm.
me. So if I do that, when I get in some sort of involvement where I'm helping another person, then it gets the focus off of me.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wrote down was that I observed many other people that have had it worse than me. So
Yes.
I went to a divorce care class for 6 months and I couldn't believe everything the people at my table were going through. I'm like, wow, at least I don't
Right.
have that. So just realizing I'm not the only one that has it bad, and
Right.
I've got it actually pretty good compared to a lot of the poor other people. So another thing is to be concerned with others. So I'm not, like I said, thinking about myself and my situation nonstop. So if you're doing something, maybe cooking for somebody or bringing a meal or working at a food pantry or something, it just feels so good because
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
giving to somebody. And then your heart just fills up because you're helping somebody else now instead of other people helping me.
Yeah.
So it can also be a part of my purpose. So being there for someone like people were there for me. So people
Yeah.
were there that took time to listen to me, listen to my story over and over, even though it was just like a record player, same story every day. But now I could do that for somebody else because I had people there that did that for me. So some examples of serving that I did, and if you serve, make sure it's something you're interested in, something that's
Yeah.
fun to you, something that could be a passion. So one of the things I've been doing for probably about 6 or 7 years now is face painting. Just amateur, but little by little, I've learned to do it more and more, and I volunteer with an outreach for that. But I've also done it through church, and just learning how to paint children's faces, which are
Yeah.
actually very small, and practicing and practicing and practicing. And the funny thing is, sometimes the adults want to get their face painted. So
Nice.
if a mom, I've had a couple men, but mostly moms, and they just want to sit down there. And I think, wow, this woman maybe never had her face painted as a child,
Yeah.
and she needs some love and attention.
Yeah.
And then I made these little tiaras for the girls, or the ones that go around their head, and then I got some tiaras like at the dollar store. So after you do their face, then they get a little tiara.
Yeah.
So one time I'm like, the mom needs a tiara today.
Yes.
So so just
Yes.
feeling them out and letting them feel loved and cared for. And with this one group I do involve singing, so I could sing softly in their ear the song,
Nice.
and just let them feel love. So another thing I would do is childcare for preschoolers. I love preschoolers, ages 2 to 5. Give me all the preschoolers you got.
Nice.
Another thing I love is special needs children. I used
Mm-hmm.
to work with special needs children in my job, so I just have a special affinity toward them. So anyway, people that are struggling. So what I was saying is, you could do something that comes naturally and something that you're good at
Yeah.
and that you feel led to do. So what comes naturally? Maybe
Yeah.
face painting, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's whatever, and that you feel led, where you feel like whatever it is, it would be a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, 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 very powerful. And I love that you gave different examples because it's different for everybody, and that's one of the things I like. I know at Cal Voices, there was a program like many years that I was working in. It was an older adult program, and pretty much we recruited volunteers to come into the program and just provide support to older adults that was 55 years or older who was isolated, homebound, and lonely and things like that. And when I tell you, Catherine, we had faithful volunteers,
Oh,
like very faithful, super faithful. And every year we will have like a volunteer appreciation where we have food and get all the volunteers together and just show our appreciation to them and stuff, because they was dealing with a vulnerable population, and they will go over there, play board games. They would take them out to appointments, help them clean up, like just there as a companion. And
mm-hmm.
you saw that these older adults' lives start to thrive because
Oh,
they didn't have any other support or activities going on unless these volunteers came into their home. So I love that you brought that up, because volunteering does make an impact on people's lives. And like you said, find out what you like to do, or things that you potentially would be good at.
Right. And the program you were talking about sounds like they were able to have a consistent person coming in, which is amazing. Because if you can offer that, then the person would begin to trust you, and you could develop a relationship with them. And that is so rewarding for the person. They just love having somebody they can count on and they can share things with, or just somebody that comes on a consistent basis and they can rely on. That's people just love that.
Yeah, it was a very effective program. Very, very effective. So yes, and I just wish there was more things out there like that. Well, I should get, well, I want to say that, because I'm sure there are things that people can do, but I just wish people really understood the power of volunteering, you know, and how it really does make a difference in people's lives. So,
absolutely.
Now, what's the next thing?
The next thing that helped me was listening to an uplifting speaker. So finding somebody that I could listen to that would just get the focus off myself, and that this person would give me pointers on, you know, how I can be better or fill my heart with joy. So back then we didn't have as much streaming or podcasts or things like that, but we did have CDs. So I would have every CD, you know, from this person that I listened to a lot. And so if I felt myself sinking, you can sense it when you're starting to go down and I'm falling apart now. You know, I was doing good and now I'm sinking. Then get those CDs or podcasts or streaming or whatever it is readily available, so you can turn it on right away and then just listen to that person. So, you know, same CDs over and over, and eventually I had a big old bag of them, and, you know, then just and it helped me to get down from that sinking feeling. So you can also do music or musicians, or some, you know, songs can be uplifting. I was going to talk about music, add music to this. So if there's a song that just fills you up or envelops your heart, and the words to a song, you can sing along. And that kind of goes along with exercising too, which I'll talk about. But just something that's going to fill you up when you sense yourself starting to sink.
Yeah. I like how, because everything that you just named off, and the other thing you're going to talk about, exercise and all that, for some way it's connected to your mental health. You know, all of it is connected to your mental health, you know, the song and the volunteering and the exercise and all that. And I love that you kind of pick certain things out to showcase what helped you on your healing journey. Very, very, very powerful.
Right. And just learned as I went. What else could I do? You know, when you're grasping for straws, you got to find something. Some things are going to work and some things aren't. Now, a lot of times people may want to use drugs and alcohol. But basically that may help temporarily, but it just numbs the pain. So you can numb the pain, but then you're not going to get through it. You're just numbing it. And this could go on for years and years and years. You feel good for a short period of time, but then you're not, you know, you're stunting your growth, you know. So then if you stay away from that, then you get through the hard time, which means you're going to have to cry and just, it's going to hurt pretty bad. But then you're going through. So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to every problem. The hardest part is getting through the middle. Getting through. The word through is the hardest part. So the beginning is easy, but think about how many people drop out of different programs because they can't get through it. You know, they want to go back to where they were before. So if you get through, then you can get to the end and then on to the next thing. And people have to realize that's kind of how life is. It may be one problem after another. You know. Sometimes you're doing good. Well, I'm not having any problems now. And then something else comes up. So you just have to process through it, you know, and not rely on those things. Maybe it would be food, overeating, eating the wrong things. Different things can be a vice for different people. And certain things that may happen in our life could trigger us, could be a trigger to go back to that vice. You know, maybe it's something people don't even know they triggered you. You know, maybe a person was spanked too much as a child, or had a belt, their dad used a belt or wooden spoon or different things. And then somebody like my dad used a belt, for example, when I this is totally something different off the subject, but
Yeah.
so if maybe my husband would take his belt out of his pants, how would he know that would be a trigger to me? He
Yeah.
wouldn't know it at all.
Yeah.
So, or if somebody snaps a belt, how people can snap, that
Yeah.
would definitely trigger me.
Yeah.
Just letting the person know, I have a problem with that because of the way I was raised. So just, if you could not do that, that would be good.
Yeah.
But to let the people know, if you're close to them, certain things that may be a trigger for, bad memories or stuff that happened in the past,
You know what, you are definitely on point and hitting on some things, because something just recently happened with me. So I didn't have a relationship with my dad growing up at all. He's like zero. I mean, I knew what he was, I knew who he were, but his thing was always making promises and never follow through. You find him at the bar with all these ladies or whatever, and he just, all these empty promises. And so throughout the years, I didn't know that I had a lot of hurt and rejection or things like that. And so when I came to the Lord, God dealt with all that, and so I tried to reconnect back with him. And so I went and to Illinois, where he was with me, my sister, and whatever. And he saw me, and he was crying, and so that was my way of trying to reconnect with him. And so during one of the conversations, he was honest with me. He was like, I knew I wasn't a good father, but I didn't want any children. He was, and and I told him, I said, well, I respect that, because your actions already told me that, but to hear you verbalize that, I respect that. So from there, I tried to build a, relationship with him. I, helped furnish his place when he moved from one place to another and all that. Then it got to a point where he started to put distance between us again. The phone calls stopped. I would send him money and buy shoes and, just things that sent it through mail. He didn't want to be bothered, And I had to realize, Catherine, that this man, it wasn't personal against me. This is just how he is. He never wanted any kids. He don't want that title. And so it's showing through his action stuff. So I stepped back and, and I'm okay now. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because I have a close friend who is in the exact same situation. Now, about a year ago, his father reached out to him and made empty promises to him. He ain't heard from him yet. So my friend was telling me like he always do this. And so about 3 weeks ago, his dad reached out to his mom and asked for my friend's phone number. So the mother called my friend and told him. And so my friend called his dad. And so his dad was like, well, Thursday, I'm gonna call you Thursday. So we're gonna set something up for Saturday. I'm gonna want to hang out, whatever. And he never called. And I can tell that it really, Catherine, when I say like for real, it really affected my friend. And as he was talking to me about, he was like, he always does this, these empty promises. I started to be triggered.
Right.
And I didn't even know. I was sitting up there, like, I'm trying to comfort him, but then I started feeling like all these emotions, there's this anger, and I realized at that moment, I'm like, Jesse, you're triggered because you're familiar with his story. And so I had to kind of, step back and kind of really, just step back from my friend. And I had to get myself together before I can go back and talk to him. But I didn't even realize, Captain, that was a trigger of mine.
Sure. Yeah, you recognized it. You finally did. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So right, you had been through the same thing. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I think when you do go through life and you're trying to heal, we should be able to recognize our triggers and then do something about it. So
yeah, and with parents, that's a challenging one. We want our parents to be perfect. We wish they would do this. We wish they would do that. But but they only know what they know that they were trained from their parents.
Right,
And
exactly.
maybe their parents didn't know how to do it,
Exactly.
so you get what you get, because
Yeah.
like maybe one parent is perfect and the other one wasn't, but
Yeah.
it's just because of what they went through in their life experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you may get some good things, but that you're not going to get perfect. And you only have two parents. So
right. Exactly.
you got
exactly.
what you got.
Exactly.
But I always think, well, God, you talked about God is our Father.
Yeah.
So he can fill all those gaps,
Yes.
everything that other people weren't there for us,
Yes.
or he can fill everything that needed to be filled.
Yes.
He has all of those qualities.
Yes.
So, yeah. So even as adults, we can't blame our parents for everything because
Yes.
they were what they were. They did the best they could, or maybe they didn't even do very good at all.
Yes.
But if you have one parent that does something, that we have to give accountability for that.
Yes.
What we did get with that.
Exactly. That's 100% correct. Because, Kathy, I did that for a long time in life. And because I was blaming him for all the bad things that went on in my life. This man ain't around, ain't thought about me. And I had to realize, no, like this is going on because of either the choices I made or life itself, but he has nothing to do with that, And I really had to deal with that, seek therapy and just whatever.
Well, sure.
To really deal with that, like, oh, okay, like, no, you got to deal with what's going on now.
Yeah, and he may not have had any training from his parents.
No, and he did not.
Yeah.
That's why I said you on point. He did not at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah. Let's talk about the, go ahead. I want to hit on the exercise.
Oh, yeah, we can go down to exercise. So it's good for me, to find some sort of exercise. I don't know what it does. There's something called pheromones, I think, that are released when you exercise. But just your body feels better. You just, some sort of physical fitness doesn't have to be perfect. Don't necessarily have to join a gym. You can just exercise just out of nature. So for me, I've been doing walking for many years. Back in high school, I did, track and cross country, but right now just walking. So when I do walking, I can view nature. I can speak to God, look at his beauty. But sometimes I like to do craft projects out of like little things that fall to the ground, and you can put them in a bag and then make a wreath out of it at Christmas, and just the beautiful flowers and what kind of flower is that? And then listen to some music, while I'm walking, maybe some Christian music or something that inspires me. Then I can sing along with that as I'm going, kind of turn it up loud. And sometimes I'll put these wrist weights on, and then I can do my arms as I'm going and get a little bit more going on. I've also done exercise ball, free weights, a rebounder, which is kind of like a mini trampoline. I started hula hoops a couple of years ago. You can buy these hula hoops on Amazon, weighted or non-weighted. You can fill it with sand if you want it heavier. So that's a way of kind of doing sit-ups, but you're not having to be on the ground doing it. It's working your trunk, and also resistance bands. And then with my work, I do therapy for my work and occupational therapy. So part of it includes upper body exercises. So I try to work out with the patients.
Nice.
And they like it. They like it when, when I'm working out too.
Nice.
And then we do it together and we count and okay, do what I do. Follow me, copy me now.
Yes. Yes.
And the funny thing is, the other thing I do is we have psychiatric training in occupational therapy as well. I'd say about half of our training is psychiatric and the rest is physical disabilities. So I have to tune into that. I just have to. So while I'm exercising, while we get started or get them started on a machine, a bicycle machine or something, then I try to see how you doing. Hey, what's going on? Is there anything bothering them in their mind that they might need me to help them with, or just encourage them, or give them support, and then I can start building a relationship with them for the next time I see them. Then they might be more willing, to work with me. So even doing a little bit of something will in your body will just boost your spirits a little bit to make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm curious too. So when you owned your ambulance company business, did you have a background in occupational therapy, or did you go to school after that for that?
No, I became certified in 1984 as an certified occupational therapy assistant. And
Okay.
so then I did it for about 7 years. And then when I started having children, I didn't really want to put them in daycare.
Yeah.
So then that's when my husband and I started a non-emergency medical transportation business that eventually turned into ambulance and non-emergency. So we did that for, like 20 years. And then my kids are like, Mom, you don't have to have a home-based business anymore.
Right.
I graduated college now. You don't have to take care of me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then, but all through the 20 years, I kept my license going and I did all the continuing education. And because I thought I might be going back to this, I need to have a job, So then the last, since 2019, when I sold that business, now I've been working, I did various different jobs, school district, home health, then part-time nursing homes while I was looking for a full-time, position so I could get some insurance benefits. So yeah, just slowly, and the other therapists are so sweet. They've kind of retrained me and got me back into it, and they kind of used to say, Catherine, are you working out? Yeah.
All right.
They joke around, because they're all, completely buff.
Yeah.
And so every time I do something, oh, Catherine worked out today.
Oh,
so
nice.
They were kind of sweetly telling me, in this kind of job, you really have to be in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah. So back into the swing of things, learning how to do it. Yeah. Retraining and trying to get it back into my mind. Definitely.
I absolutely love. No, I was just wondering about that because I think you was very smart to keep that certification going. Because you was right. You didn't know if you may use it again, and look what happened. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's worked out amazing. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful career. So I'm so glad I was able to, get back into it.
Yeah. All right, we got about like 3 minutes left, but I want you to get through your pointers.
Okay.
Good conversation. I know it goes quick.
Well, you're so good at interviewing. You're so good at making it flow so easily. Yeah. Well, real quick, I'll reiterate the other one. So one of them is find a community or group. So you talked about not being isolated. You don't want to be by yourself. Just, woe is me. So find a group, go to a study, attend a Zoom study, a small group, something you're interested in that when you can relate to other people that are going through what you are going through and that can be supportive of you and that want to spend time with you.
Yes.
So you definitely need to find that so you're not just by yourself all the time drinking alcohol or, whatever the case may be. And then the other one would be resting. Allow yourself to rest. Your body can heal if you rest. It's okay to rest. So don't struggle with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be sleeping. It can be sitting on the couch reading a book or, putting your feet up, things like that. It can be fun. It can give you a new outlook on life, and also help you to pace yourself and conserve your energy so you can be ready for what you do need to do at work or with things you have to get done that week. So allow yourself to rest. That's a hard one for some people, especially if we grew up in a generation where you had the workaholic type of generation, or if you're trained that way in your family or whatever, it is okay to take a breather.
Yeah.
And the last one would be food. So watching what I eat, learning that food is medicine, what types of foods are going to help my diagnoses. So for me, I would read all kinds of cookbooks, different cookbooks, study what foods are medicine for my condition. So what will help prevent cancer from reoccurring in the future. Compare and seek information from nutritionists, dietitians, wellness practitioners. Explore for me teas, spices, organic foods, juices, smoothies, essential oils, and sometimes maybe even finding a life coach or somebody in your house can be your own life coach, like my husband is right now. We're kind of each other's life coach. Or what are you eating? Or why are you eating that? Or
yeah, that's good.
This worked for me. Are you going to have some of that, or am I going to have some of that? So someone who's focused on wellness to kind of monitor what I eat and what food I'm buying as well. And also helping me throw out temptations in the kitchen pantry, just keeping it out of the house. Then I won't be tempted to go, eat that. And it's just a constant study for me. And I enjoy it as a hobby. It's kind of like a journey of information. And I study food all the time. It's just and I like it. It's just,
that's a big one for the community, America. Mm-hmm. Food. And I think that I love the way you laid that out about how taking things out of your home so you won't be tempted to eat it and things like that. That's important. You got those cookies and ice cream up in there, and I mean, you open the freezer, going in the kitchen, the temptation is going to be there.
Yeah.
Get it out.
Right, exactly. And you
Yeah.
may, if you go to a party or, birthday party or something like that, that might be a little bit different. Now you're at a party, it's not like it's in your kitchen, or sometimes you might go out to dinner, you're doing the best you can.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a quick little story right quick. I know we run out of time. My birthday just passed last week, and I got like all these gifts. And so some of the gifts I got, people went to Costco and bought me these big tubs of cookies and big thing of caramel cheese popcorn and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I took that stuff right after my job, put that stuff right in the break room because I saw myself tempted to eat it. Big bags of chocolate. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I got to get rid of this. Thank you. The thought was good, but I'm gonna share this. No,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna eat this.
I'm so glad you did that. That's what I need to do too. Just bring it, put it on the work shelf, and that is it at the break room. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if I have time to read the words to this one song.
Okay, yeah. You can read it. You can read it.
When Glenn and I, my wonderful new husband, we got married, I found this song, or I listened to it over and over. It's called "Tell Your Heart to Beat Again." It's a song by Danny Gokey, and I just felt like that described me and my husband. He's gone through many things, and so we had this song played at our wedding. It's our song. It just enveloped both of our lives. So I wanted to read it in case it would help anybody else that's going through something.
Okay.
You're shattered like you've never been before. The life you knew in 1,000 pieces on the floor. And words fall short in times like these, when this world drives you to your knees. You think you're never going to get back to the you that you used to be. Just let that word wash over you. It's all right now. Love's healing hands have pulled you through. So get back up. Take step one. Leave the darkness. Feel the sun. Because your story's far from over and your journey's just begun. Let every heartbreak and every scar be a picture that reminds you who has carried you this far. Because love sees further than you ever could. In this moment, heaven's working everything for your good. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday's a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again.
Nice. Thank you so much for that, Catherine. I love those words. And I definitely love interviewing you as usual. And we're definitely going to have to connect again. So I mean, you just have a wealth of information that I think will be very valuable to people who watch this platform. So thank you so much for coming on the show and just taking.
You're welcome. And so good to see you again too.
Yes. And that's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this particular show, if you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you would like a DVD copy of this particular show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.